Hello, everyone. Uh, Today we're gonna have an EMA with the cool guest, James from SubQuery. My name is Yuri from Let's Not, and together with my friend Victor, we're gonna host this EMA.
Yes, hello guys. Hello everyone. But just want to say before we start, I just want to say that this session will be uploaded to my YouTube channel as well. The recording will be available in Crowdcast, and the video with the translation for the Russian speaking community will be uploaded to my YouTube channel as soon as possible. And we have plenty of prepared questions from our community, and maybe we will take some more questions from the chat, but it depends on how long it will take for us to cover all the questions that we already have.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, but I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to answering as many as possible.
Cool.
Awesome.
I have one question already from the beginning. How are you going, James?
I'm good, actually. Yeah, no, it's been quite busy at the moment. We're getting very close to launching our test network, so the whole team's working quite hard, but it's very exciting for us because it's something we've been working for many months, and we're finally there. So pretty happy today. It's a good day.
Well, yeah, obviously we're gonna talk about the testnet, yeah. Okay. Please probably
How
can.
did you?
Sorry.
Yeah, how did you come up with the SubQuery? I know the name is obvious for some people, but maybe some people don't understand the origin of the name of your company, of the project. So how did you come up with SubQuery?
Yeah, so before SubQuery, we worked for a team called OnFinality. Now, OnFinality do a lot of infrastructure services for Polkadot, and we talked to a lot of Polkadot teams while we're doing OnFinality. And one thing we kept hearing the same, because we always asked, our customers, what can we do? What can we build? What would solve some problems? And a lot of them kept talking about a data indexer. It was one of those biggest, there was a missing piece there in the ecosystem. So after hearing it a few times, you start thinking maybe we should do that. And that's kind of where we decided in December 2020 to kind of build SubQuery, and our CTO Ian kind of hacked it out in the first 2 months, and we launched that in February 2021. And from there we haven't looked back. It's just been really amazing, the results.
I remember the beginning, participating from the first months.
Yeah,
it really
awesome,
grows
awesome.
fast.
Yeah, and we are looking forward to see how it goes on. How will you launch your Parachain and other things? But we just want to ask you about the ecosystem. Why did you choose Polkadot in the first place instead of choosing Ethereum's, Cosmos, Solanas of this world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Polkadot is our home, and we treat it like that. There's a few kind of interesting things with Polkadot. Polkadot, it doesn't market that well, but there's actually a huge number of developers in Polkadot. In fact, Polkadot, based on a recent report by an investor called Electric Capital, who analyzed all the GitHub repositories of various different projects on various different chains, they found that Polkadot was the fastest growing community out there. In fact, it was the second largest community after Ethereum. So there's a huge number of developers in Polkadot, and that's one of the biggest reasons. We build tools that developers use, and we found that Polkadot was a huge number of developers, and a lot of those developers need these tools. So it's a number of developers building stuff there. B, Polkadot has this multi-chain view, this parachain view, and each of those parachains is a very similar but slightly different blockchain. And they're all just different enough that you have to kind of build something quite advanced to make it work for all the parachains. So Polkadot, we saw, just had big potential in terms of the number of blockchains and number of layer one parachains that we have to support. And you can see that today, right? There's 40 different parachains launched, and it's growing every week.
Yeah, and Gavin is one of the greatest developers out there. The guy is making history with the first with the Ethereum with EVM and Solidity language, now with Substrate framework. So yeah, great stuff he's building. And why did you choose? Why do you want to make a parachain? Because I've heard that you plan to launch a parachain instead of simply just being a separate network. Because basically you can work as a separate network without being a parachain.
Our original plan is to launch a SubQuery network as a smart contract on an existing parachain. That's our first step. So we've announced partnership with Acala, and our plan is to launch the SubQuery network as a smart contract within Acala's parachain. But we always want to go to our own parachain in the long term. Now, the reason why we launch with another parachain, like Acala first, is because it allows us to get to market faster. We don't have to worry about the whole crowd loans and the slot auctions and all those pieces, and actually running our own chain, which has a lot of other things you have to do. We don't have to focus on that. We focus on building our network. But we believe that longer term, there will be some advantages for us owning our own parachain. We'll be able to look at how do we make new features on that parachain specifically designed for service companies like us. So we're kind of a service company. You can think of us like a infrastructure as a service or data as a service. And we think that a certain parachain will allow us to provide new features to focus on that. But this is a long-term thing, right? This is a longer-term view, but it's important for us.
So, may I interrupt you guys? If I understand correctly, you want to run your own parachain on the Polkadot, right? But in the meanwhile, you also would like to start your, I would say, like mainnet launch on Acala.
Correct.
So in the result, you will have 2 mainnets, right?
Well, we would migrate across once our own parachain was launched.
You will migrate. Okay.
Yeah, that would be the view, is to migrate across. We only want to have one network. It's just having duplication. It's a marketplace, right? And when you create two marketplaces, it kind of you half the size of the community. So we want to migrate, but yeah, don't underestimate the amount of work involved to set up a parachain. Like through On Finality, we work very closely with teams in the early stage, and the amount of effort is huge. It's not just getting and running collator nodes. It's all the code, it's the testing, connecting and not bricking your parachain or stalling it, because then you need to ask for them to recover it for you. It's also getting the services like getting a scanner on there. There's a lot of small things that add up to many months of work from a parachain point of view. So it's all about just us moving faster than that in the short term.
Yeah, that makes sense. And since you are launching on Acala, do you also plan to launch on its sister network, Karura, to try things out over there? Or only
Yeah,
Acala?
we suspect we're going to have part of our test network and its sister parachain, Karura. We don't see any need for the final SubQuery network. We don't really see any need to have like a canary version and a production version. At this stage, we don't see there any need to be. That could change. But at this stage, we plan just to launch the SubQuery network straight to Acala's Polkadot parachain.
Cool. How
Okay,
long?
and why do you... Yeah, okay, no problem.
I just want to
And
ask.
you see that like running a canary net, it's not really a test net, a canary net and a main net. It's a lot of like duplication of effort. And you're seeing a lot of teams now are just skipping Kusama or are focusing everything on Kusama. They're not doing two parachains anymore. You're seeing some teams start doing that because it just reduces the amount of effort involved.
When you count your mainnet launch in the Parachain as well as on Acala network, when you plan to start each one. Let's talk about
So
quarter.
so
Q3, Q.
yeah, so like launching the SubQuery network in Acala, that is something that we expect that we're going to be working. We're going to be like we're working on the test network now, and that test network is starting today. It really depends how that goes. If we find there's no issues, if we find that that is running really well, then this will be very fast. The whole point about the test network is to find out what's not working, is to fix all the bugs before you invite thousands of people into it. So it really depends on what we find today and over the weekend. But I think reasonably you can expect that we will launch the SubQuery main network probably in Q3 this year. I think that's a reasonable expectation. So this Q2 is all about the test network. End of Q2, early Q3, we do like a public sale for our token and preparation. And then we start the SubQuery network in Q3.
Oh, that's great. Great year for SubQuery.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a busy year.
And why did you choose Acala? Because I know a lot of different parachains, they have smart contracts capabilities, for example, Moonbeam, Astar Network. So what was the reason behind choosing Acala specifically parachain?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there were kind of three main reasons why we chose Acala. So the first one is basically Acala are quite technically advanced. Like they won every auction. They won the first auction. And they've kind of been leading the way from the start. And part of that is their technical expertise. Like if you're a developer in Substrate, you'll always see Brian. Brian's the CTO of Acala, always answering questions in there. He's very good, and as a result, they have been the first to do a lot of things. They're very widely known for their technical expertise, and it means that we have you can rely a bit more on that. The Acala network, the Acala EVM Plus is what they're calling it, will be really good when it launches. The second reason is Acala's launching a EVM Plus, and one of the advantages of the EVM Plus will be that you can seamlessly bridge your ETH assets into Acala's network. They're doing a lot of work to make it as easy as possible to bring your assets in. So pay with your own gas, and a few other pieces, and lots of bridges to different networks, not just Ethereum, but also Bitcoin, but Avalanche, other ETH chains as well. So it means more users can access the SubQuery network easier, and they can access it using their own Ethereum addresses. And finally, the third reason is that we share a pretty common view with Acala. We've worked with them from the start. You know how I was saying at the start that some of the teams are saying you should build an indexing solution. Well, Acala were one of those teams. And we've been partners for a long time with that team. So we know what they work like. We have a good relationship with them, and we'll be deepening that relationship over time.
Are you already experimenting with their EVM Plus on a testnet? Because they said that they're gonna launch EVM Plus, but it's still in the process of launching. So
yeah, we are testing with it right now. They're launching some code on Mandala, their test network, and we have been playing around with that, giving feedback. It's still in development, but it's very close, and we have been playing with it. Yeah, very close to that team.
Look, I'm listening and I see really this is a win-win situation for both of you. The Acala really wins because you start on them and you would like really bring a big shootout to the all Acala network, and you will be also gaining a lot. It seems so. Really cool.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting, and we're going to try to push the Acala network as much as possible, right? Like
Yeah.
We can if something breaks Acala, hopefully it'll be ours.
You would have a lot of requests, I think. So it would be a good stress test for Acala, I think so.
Yeah, but Brian will help for sure. He's one of the greatest guys, developers. I guess he's one of the biggest contributors to Substrate apart from Parachain. Yeah, so very smart guy. Okay, regarding parachains, yeah. So you witnessed a lot of crowd loans, a lot of parachain actions. Do you like the process? Maybe you would like to change or add something to this process. Your overall feeling about this parachains actions and crowd loans.
Does he can change the
Yeah,
crowd?
well, you can always suggest changes, right? There's nothing stopping you from ever suggesting changes, and that's one thing about Polkadot. One of the best reasons of Polkadot is that there are forums for governance where you could put out a random crazy idea, and
Yeah, that's true.
people can assess it. People can tell you you're an idiot, or they can say, actually, this makes some sense. Smarter people than me have looked into the crowd loans process, but we've done a lot of research into the first few crowd loans, including looking at how much DOT was contributed in those early days, and the numbers were insane. We looked into, so for example, for the first Polkadot crowd loan, where it was head-to-head between Acala and Moonbeam, at the time, in just under 13 days, about $3.5 billion worth of DOT was committed.
It was a great battle.
But it's crazy that people committing that for 2 years. So we saw a lot of data because a lot of projects that you would have gone to see the results would be using SubQuery data. And they were like, we were providing data to most websites during that period, and our servers were being hammered because of all the requests. It was really exciting. I think it's gonna be interesting over time to see how renewals happen. It's going to be a year and a half until that comes, but I don't think many teams have thought that carefully about how they're going to manage renewals. And I guess the prices by that stage will drop, but you have to budget in money to then raise for the renewal of your slot.
Yeah, have you seen how some of the teams done that with the Kusama network? For example, get the guys from Moonbeam, Moonriver, they simply just put anonymous bet, like around 10,000 KSM. They won, and then after that, they officially said that it's our parachain. So we won. So that's how they managed to do the second parachain.
Yeah, and you're seeing some teams will take out a cut of inflation and put that into a fund for your renewal. So for every 2 years, you'll take the amount of inflation, and then hopefully your token will appreciate quite a bit. So having that in US dollars or DOT will be quite a lot of DOT.
Yeah, different teams have different vision how to renew. For example, Acala, they build in wealth fund, and they simply want to use a part of this wealth fund to get another parachain.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting, and seeing also how prices change. We need to do another bit of analysis and see what the slot price has been recently, because some of them have been very cheap. Like teams have won a slot on only a few $1,000s worth of DOT. So it's amazing the difference through those first ones and now. Like the demand has dropped off quite a bit. People want a slot, but there's not many teams technically ready yet. So demand is changing all the time. So maybe it'll pick up again.
Or maybe it will simply just spread more equally in the future. Because first parachains, a lot of people are excited about it. So this is very new to the whole crypto ecosystem. So yeah,
it could be the right. Yeah, we'll find out. And we'll need to watch it very closely, but also calculate exactly how much was spent at each period. So maybe you'll find slots contested even.
Okay, so let's continue with the questions that we have. So how many projects, parachains or dApps are already using SubQuery? And can you name a few that you are most excited about?
one of the things that we always do is we always make sure that projects using our hosted service go on our Explorer. Our Explorer is always online. I just put the link in the chat. And it's a live running kind of list of all the projects that use us. There are more that don't use us, but this is pretty good. This managed service we provide for free for our community. And there are hundreds of projects on there. Some of them are some of the biggest wallets out there. So for example, Nova Wallet, Fearless Wallet. These are the two biggest Polkadot focused wallets. You also see teams like Subscan on there and a few different like NFT platforms and other chains. We do hundreds of millions of requests for data from the Explorer every day. It's crazy how big this has become.
Does this request means that there's someone queuing your data, right? Queuing the projects they're using, right?
Someone is requesting data from the project. So it could be a client, like an app. So for example, for Nova Wallet, when you open up Nova Wallet in the app, that will make requests to us. So it might request, for example, your staking revenue. It might request crowd loan data. It might also request your list of transactions.
And when you, for example, indexing the data, or when you build your project and indexing the data, does it also make requests to the project somehow, right?
No, they're not counted.
They're
so
not
the
counted.
indexing piece isn't counted in that request. It's only active requests from customers, from users out there. So there's live projects on here making many millions of requests per day. One of the most interesting ones I see recently, and I talked about this last night, is a project called Move a Place. And if you've seen Reddit's Place, it's like this canvas so you can draw something on. It's kind of similar for this Mover one. So you can go onto this canvas, you can draw what you want, and you can pay for it in Mover, and that Mover goes to a charity of your choice. It's really quite cool. So we've drawn the SubQuery logo on it. But you guys should take a look at it. I'll just put the link in the chat here.
Okay, we'll definitely try it out.
Okay. Based on the depths, right? What the projects which is deployed right now to the SubQuery, like I understand, right now on the network, I mean the Parachain, on your own network, on your own token. Right now, everything is for free, and you can simply deploy your project. I've tried myself. You see how it works. Means that now everyone can do it without any limitations.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. But is it really no limitations there? How big projects you can deploy, for example? Do you have any? Because it's hosted somewhere in your storage, that means that probably there is something. What is
So
limited
we
here?
always make it free, right? You can deploy for free, and you have. We put some limitations on the number of resources that go to that. For example, if you start getting millions of requests, they're probably not going to work because there's only a very small query service running on them. It's enough for you to play around. It's enough for you to maybe like run in dev. But going live, it will struggle. Some of our big customers, it's like Fearless Wallet. We run multiple databases. We run multiple query endpoints. It's all load balanced. And we have an arrangement with them where they pay for that. So we make it free for the community. But if you want a highly reliable, high production quality server, talk to us really. Because we run that to a high standard of uptime, and we constantly monitor it, so it keeps us up at night.
I get it. Look, and when you're talking about the numbers of requests, to be honest, this would the information I was really interested in. When I was trying query, what I find out, there is no reports for now, so I really don't know how many requests can hold my application and how many. So do you plan to have in the future kind of reports feature, or maybe data insights to track your requests.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's on our roadmap right now, and we're working on that.
Cool.
We need to hire a data engineer to help us get the pipeline for data from Kafka into a format that we can then show into the UI. But it's definitely on our roadmap. We want to do this. We very much want to do this. So
Cool.
everyone would get a report which will show the number of requests I've had to their projects that day, maybe where they're from, where in the world they are, and then what entities have been requested.
Yeah.
So you might be able to see that a lot of people are asking for this entity, which gives you enough information when you're running the SubQuery project to decide what you want to improve, because you can see that people requesting a certain entity and a lot of people using that bit of data rather than this bit of data.
I see. Yeah, this feature, to be honest, will be really cool.
Let's switch gears a little bit. So can you tell us a bit more about your grant program? I know that you're running grant program. So can you tell us about grant program? How will it help Polkadot ecosystem in general? And also to add a bit more, how do you think, will we see like some new projects in Polkadot ecosystem, or it's simply just going to be like copycats of what is already being built on Ethereum? How do you see the ecosystem in general?
Yeah, I was talking to an investor about this actually recently. I think we're going to continue to see a mix of copycat and brand new ideas. A company isn't just an idea. It's also hard to build a company and execute. So you can have a really good idea, but you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time and completely fail. It could be the best idea in the world and still fail. A company is an idea, but also the team behind it, the expertise, the luck, being in the right place at the right time. So for that reason alone, copycats kind of worth coming through, because you never know, it might be a better environment or an ecosystem. This ecosystem might have more gaming, for example, so you're better suited for that. So I think we'll see more and more copycat stuff.
Yeah, by the way, the copycats, this is really, really a big good question.
Yeah, but again, there's so much interest into blockchain that there's enough space for these people, and over time, as one or two copycats get bigger, you might find the market starts to have less and less of them because they've won. But at the moment, everyone's so small that you might as well try.
But if I know that to deploy to deploy my project to your on SubQuery market, I need to push it to the Git, right? So, but can I push it to the private Git account? Does it work somehow? So that's, for example, I don't want to share my code, right? So
Yeah.
I put it to push it to the private account and publish it directly on the SubQuery, so no one can copycat my work.
Yeah.
Right?
So we allow that.
Okay.
We discourage it, and we might limit that so you can't use a free service for that. But at the moment, you can even deploy via IPFS, so you don't even have to give a GitHub link.
Mm-hmm.
You can package your code up, put it on IPFS, and deploy it that way.
Okay, that's cool.
And I also think that some copycats may be even more successful on blockchains that domain specific ones. For example, if you're doing something on general purpose blockchain like Ethereum, it could be one thing. But if you're doing the same thing, the same stuff, for example, on Acala with EVM plus substrate, even if it's a copycat, it can be even more successful in the future than its original idea.
Exactly right. It's all about right place, right time.
Yeah, for sure. So how about your grant program? Can you tell us a little bit more about your grant program?
How can
Yeah,
I
so we
earn
launched
money
a
and
grant
help you?
program. We launched that grant program back in December, I believe, and we've had so much interest in it. It's crazy. So it's designed to provide non-dilutive funding to teams to go out there and build something cool and new using SubQuery. We've had, I think, about 60 different applications to that. We've only been able to accept less than 10.
Do you have any limitations? For example, I know Web3 Foundation. For example, if some teams wanted to get grant from Web3, Web3 is saying that you are not allowed to, for example, do another crowdfunding for a while. Do you have some sorts of limitations like that?
No, we try not to limit it. We try to leave it open. So we try to take it on a case-by-case basis. So there's a big
Okay.
application process and also like an interview where we just kind of learn and understand that things. Web3 Foundation is quite restrictive on certain things. We think too restrictive. So, for example, we've given grants to brand new companies, but we've also given grants to existing companies that we've been working with for years. Because what they're doing is building something useful. We think it's useful. We also don't it's not just about the money. It's also technical support. We give them advice. We look into their project and give them feedback all the time. We give them marketing and BD support. So we're constantly talking to the team every second week and like talking about strategy with them. You know, what are they building, why are they building it, and how are they going to go to market with that? So there's all these other pieces as well, not just money. And people look at the money as always like the main thing. And yes, I guess it could be, but there's all these other pieces, right? As I said before, it's not just about the right idea. It's about being in the right place at the right time with the right people. Without all these things, you can't do well.
Do I understand you correctly? That if I'm a developer, right, and I would like to help you guys, and I can also contribute it via applying on the grant and suggest you some feature or suggest you some implementation, or does it mean the grant it's only for creating project based on SubQuery, for example, which is not on the market yet and can be theoretically having high demand in the future? What do you think?
So it's both, right?
Okay.
We keep it very flexible and open-ended. You can come with us for an idea for a new app.
Okay.
You can come for us for an idea to improve an existing app. You can go to our website and look at a list of bounties that we've put up,
Cool.
or you can come for us with an idea to improve our product.
Yeah, so it's very flexible. And do you collaborate with other projects, for example, in your grants program? For example, you're building with Acala, so maybe Acala can
That's
also
correct.
support something that you. Yeah, awesome, great.
And they do. So Acala's up there, Moon River or Moonbeam's up there. I think Bifrost are up there, Fala, and Astar.
Awesome, the power of Polkadot ecosystem collaboration. Yeah, great.
We're all
This is
working
all
together.
Polkadot, but
That's we all have to work together.
so I have one question regarding the if you don't mind, regarding the language you support by query your data, if you don't mind, yeah, because we're right now talking about the queries and so on. And for now, I see you supporting GraphQL. Yeah, this is a very efficient query language, no doubts, and I see there is just a lot of pros. So, but do you plan to turn the possibility of host something which I can query in the future in the direction of API, maybe, or the rest, or doesn't make sense?
So at the moment we support GraphQL,
Yep.
the graph query language, and that makes it easy because it's easy to put any data into a database and be able to query that.
Yep.
Some of our customers use SubQuery and put a REST API on top of it.
Yeah.
We don't do that dynamically or automatically, but some of our customers do because it's open source, right? And you can change it. I don't see us in the short term providing native support for that because you then have to change or write or define your API endpoints.
To go another level, yeah, I see.
It's like another bit of work, but we might provide more pointers of how to do it.
Get it, thanks. I have another question, yeah. I've heard and that for the future possibility to use the projects, you'll need to have tokens for each request. Am I right? How works this scheme what you plan to build on? And I know in the infrastructure there is a pretty bunch of roles. The consumer indexer. Who else? There was a third one.
Delegator as well.
Delegator. Yeah, correct. The delegator. Okay, yeah. So could you please explain a bit how does it work? And probably I have question to separate of each of the role.
Yeah. So in short, consumers want data.
Okay.
So they'll go out and they'll find an indexer. Indexers will do the hard work to get that data. So they'll run a SubQuery project in their computers, in their infrastructure. They'll index data,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll sell that to consumers. And consumers will pay SubQuery tokens in return.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. Buy, sell. Delegators are a third party. There are people out there that aren't technical and don't really want data, but they have SubQuery tokens. And they can support their favorite indexes. They can delegate or stake their tokens to their favorite indexer. And that indexer, by receiving their tokens, will receive a larger proportion of the rewards. So indexers want to encourage delegators to support them because it means they get a higher proportion of rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And delegators will expect to earn a cut from what the indexers receive. So that's how it works very simplistically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Means that the delegator would theoretically help to select those indexers who is doing the great job based probably on their uptime, number
On
of
their like
blocks.
reward stats as well, like how many SubQuery rewards they've earned over time.
Okay, cool. And what's the limitation? What the number of indexer do you need to have the network live and consistent?
We really want as much as possible.
Really?
We don't know that. This is part of what the test network's set out to achieve, is to figure out what's a good number, or what's a maximum, or what's a minimum. Maybe there is no maximum. We'll find out. So I guess
if,
running a test network, it helps us decide and learn about these parameters.
Mhm, mhm. And if I'm deploying the project, do I need to select which indexer will host it, or which indexer responsible for hosting or for operating my data?
So the person deploying the project, and Tony's asked this, is called an architect.
Okay.
They write a SubQuery project. They could be a consumer of that data, by the way. They could be an indexer. But they don't select indexers that can host it. Indexers can host whatever project they want.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, they don't assign it to an indexer. Indexers pick it. And they only pick projects where they think there's some rewards for it. So they'll look at the project, goes, is this a good project? Does it look like there's demand for it? Do I expect to earn some rewards off it? And if the answer is no, then they might not index it. But if the answer is yes, then indexers will go and start indexing that.
Mm-hmm. So, am I understood you correct? Right now, we don't have any indexer, right? So, and it's still working. Everything data requested is fine, without no problem. And if we have an indexer between, right, means that indexer can select the project, or I'm going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, indexers will select the projects.
We'll
They will pick
select
the
the project.
projects which they think make the most sense.
Okay, means, And what happened with the project which is not selected?
Well, there's different ways that consumers can encourage indexers to index that project. So let's say I'm building an app and I need data, and I need data from this project. I can go out to the community and create a service plan and say to the world, I will buy data from this project. I promise I'll buy it. In fact, I'll buy a lot of it. And indexers, and they'll see that. And they all might say, oh, actually, maybe there's money to be made off this project. And those service plans will be publicly available. And there'll be a commitment. And so that's one way that a consumer can encourage an indexer to index a new project. But it's supply and demand, right? If there's no demand for a project, what's the point in indexing it?
Makes sense, right?
Like we can't encourage people to do all this work for no reason.
Yeah,
there's got to be a supply and demand, right? It's like basic economics from high school.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, we will see. Yeah, I think this is interesting schema.
We'll find out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, especially that service plan. Like, can we allow people to communicate demand.
Okay, yeah. To just get into this architecture, okay. I'm a delegator. Yeah, I have some tokens. No, let's go from a different direction. I'm an indexer, yeah, and I'm an indexer, and I would like to run an index node, right? Uh, First of all, do I need tokens to run the indexer? What's the
Yeah,
plan?
you probably need a basic number of tokens to be an indexer,
Like
and that's
bonds,
where all
right?
of that
Self bond,
index stake.
like self stake, self bond, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so I need the self stake, self bond. And then I can start my indexer. And how many projects can I pick up? Means probably there is a capacity, or how?
Well, it depends on your infrastructure. Depends on the
Oh,
project. Some projects might have a bigger data set than others. But we are
oh,
looking at making that self-stake requirement proportional to the work you do. So you can't take on a huge number of projects and a huge number of commitments when you have a very low self-stake.
but then then the resources of my server will be just blow up, right? If I, for example, pick up the project which is queuing million requests, I don't know, a day. Doesn't mean that I can split, for example, or do you do you have an idea how can people in the future split the infrastructure through the different servers? Is it
Yeah, you
possible,
will
for
be able
example?
to, right? So you could run multiple different servers
Okay,
all under the same indexer account.
under one indexer, right? Under one
Correct.
indexer account. Okay, this is a good. So you can plan, you can see and monitor your
Yeah.
infrastructure and see, okay, I'm almost up of a limitation of my
And what we
server.
might find
So
is like running a because there's three components for SubQuery, right? There's like an indexer, which is
yeah,
like taking data off chain and putting into a database.
yeah,
There's a database. And there's a query service. And for an
yeah,
indexer, there'll be like an indexer coordinator service as well, which is very small.
yeah.
But we often find that it's efficient to run the query service on a different computer connected to that database.
Yeah.
Because then you have the indexing piece will operate constantly, and then the query service is always there to answer requests as soon as they come in. So that's fine. You don't have to run on the same computer. You can run it on different computers, and you can run multiple query services. So if you're doing millions of requests per second, you can run multiple query services that each will handle requests at database.
No, that's cool. Already planning on load balancer of the request. If it's, which also would be interesting. Thanks,
Like
James.
we run on this infrastructure today, so we know the challenges that you guys are going to face. We
Yeah,
know how is going to likely run their infrastructure because we already do it for a large scale.
you're right now talking about the first test net phase, right?
Yeah, probably not for the first test net. We don't want to not try and make the load that high for the first test network.
Mm-hmm.
But for like the second and third, we know the tricks around how to make really high performing indexes because that's what we do ourselves. We have a lot of resources on cloud computing to make millions of requests to projects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll be able to give you advice and maybe try different patterns with different indexes.
Yeah, looks cool. Like, okay, then if you don't mind, I will have a few questions about the incentive testnets. What guys you're planning to run in the future? I know there's three seasons, right? First seasons is kind of a closed and private testnet for, I think, I don't know what will happen here, but there will be a kind of technical people in technical experience, probably, right? And it takes
Yeah.
30 days, if I understand
Think of
correctly.
like the season one as like a closed alpha,
Okay.
very early days. We don't know if it works correctly.
Okay.
We're there to make sure that things are working in the first season. So very small. We want to keep that really fast and really quick. So ideally, that's less than a week or 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That
Hmm.
period. Yeah. We just want to make sure that it's working. We want to do
Okay.
like final alpha testing.
Means it started today, or I would say April 8th, right?
It starts, yeah, it'll start for me. It's today. For you, it'll be tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
bit. Yeah. So it means, guys, who watching us, seems that we have in the 14, 15 days a season 2, right? Who can participate on testnet season 2?
so we're going to open up that to a lot more people. So season 1's less than 30 people.
Okay.
Season 2 will be like 100, 150 people. And that's where a lot more testing will happen. We'll do some more scale testing. But again, we're just fixing bugs. We
Who
want to
can?
move to season 3,
Okay.
which is when we open up to everyone. Anyone can come in. And we might have thousands of indexes. And that's the scale testing.
How long you wanted to hold the season 3?
It could be a couple of weeks. We want to move fast here, but again, it all depends on how many bugs we have to fix.
Yeah, I get it.
Like it's hard to tell. And we're going to be very open with this. We're going to share a lot of like how it's going with the community. We're going to provide updates. Like later today, you'll get an update saying season 1 started and so far no issues. Yeah, but we don't know yet.
Understood. Season first probably already late, yeah, and you selected those participants. What about season 2 and season? Okay, season 3 open for all. What about season 2? Who can join season 2? How person or how participant should approve you that he can hold the season 2?
Yeah. So when we looked at like enrollment criteria, we got 1,800 applications. There's a lot of applications.
You
Too
have
many.
already them, yeah. Okay, so you
We
can
already had
select from
them,
them.
and we've already gone through them, and we basically selected what we think season 2 will be as well. We looked at technical expertise. So, have you run nodes before for different networks? We also looked at, we had a question which was, how would you set up a subquery node?
Mhm.
And there's information on our documentation that kind of go into that, and it's quite similar for the test network. So, if someone answered well with that, that was a big tick. That was like a, you know what you're doing.
Okay.
And someone just wrote an answer saying, "Trust me, I know how to set up a node."
You don't
No,
trust.
and we got a lot of people like that, right? So they might have been able to run a node, right? But like there was 1,800 applications. So for us, answering that question was quite important. How would you set up a subquery node? And you should go
And
to our website.
the form is already closed, right?
Yeah,
Means okay.
and you can go to our website and you can look at our documentation, and we provide like you run the subquery node this way, and you run the subquery query service this way, and you run a Postgres database, and you should have been able to answer. We need some Grafana monitoring or Prometheus. Any other thing you do, like all these basic things. It was just to show that you have expertise in running high performance nodes.
The monitoring
So
tools for such projects, for such nodes, I think it's must go.
yeah, so it's very hard to pick, right? And we might add more people, but we had to pick somewhere. We had to pick 100 and something for the next stage.
How will you notify those lucky season 2 participants?
We'll send them an email.
Okay.
And invite them in, and then we'll use Discord for our kind of testnet community.
Cool. That's important because people sit and waiting, and do not know what they have to do to get the answer. Okay,
Yeah,
guys, it's
tight. And if you get an email from us, you will. And if we don't hear back from you, we'll send another message through Discord or through some other channel. So we'll let you know.
Have one more question about index, if you don't mind. Through the index side, there will be a lot of requests and also a lot of response for sure. And what's the risk to run index, and also what the risk for the consumer that he knows, okay, his data or his requests or his responses are not corrupted, stalled or checked, or any other risk which can be with his data.
Yeah. So at the index, it does everything right. The data
Yeah.
should be fine.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work at SubQuery to make sure that SubQuery doesn't corrupt data. That's like always been a priority for us. So it's very unlikely that it happens.
Okay.
We do provide some tools to confirm the integrity of your data. And
You
one
have
of
some
those
double check somewhere for the data.
we have some so it's hard to check that the data set you have is correct. But
Okay.
we have a tool that allows you to check does my data set match someone else's data set? Exactly. So there's something called proof of indexing, which provides a hash of all the data that you have, or the data you have at every block height.
Yeah.
And you can use that to confirm that I have the same data as someone else indexed in the same project. So that allows you to confirm that you're on the same page. And we use that in the SubQuery network to verify. So if someone reports an indexer for providing fake data, we would use that tool to check is the data they have the same as someone else.
Interesting. So, and what is slashing mechanism then after you find out that the user manipulated with data?
Well, that's something we need to discover, right? But like we're setting up the SubQuery Foundation, and we might set up a council, and we may just take it on a case-by-case basis and decide how much will be slashed. But that's the reason why indexes have a self stake.
Yeah.
Because that will be slashed.
They will be slashed. So you personally, I mean, SubQuery team has possibility to slash indexer, or this mechanism is autonomous.
It won't be autonomous at the start because we haven't defined how much to slash and how we slash. But I think for the start, any slashing decisions will go through the council and will be shared with the community. If we can come up with a set of rules that make it autonomous, that could be worth looking into.
So
it's hard to codify rules for extreme situations because hopefully they never happen, or hopefully they don't happen that much.
Yeah,
so you don't have any data points to like codify those rules.
I mean that we can use DAO for that, right? And vote for some.
That's the plan. That's the plan, right? So it could be a case where we set up a DAO specifically for slashing decisions, because slashing decisions are really important and they're like really big deal, right?
Yeah, of course.
Taking someone's money is, you got to be sure about that. So
yeah.
If there's any reason to do a DAO, and we want to do a DAO over time, slashing decisions are a good reason. In the short term, it might just be we've decided this, and this is why we've decided this, and we publish that to everyone.
Good, yeah. Thanks God, Polkadot has all the tool set for the DAO to implement. Yeah.
Another reason for Polkadot.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, how about non-technical community? What can non-technical community do? How can it be involved in the project? Because people running nodes, this is one thing, but some people are not technical, so what can they do?
Yeah, so that's a question we always ask. And I guess it'll be more and more things as we get closer to our main network. So we have a very large and active Discord community. It's growing every month. It's now at like 25 or 30,000 people. And we've been working closely with our non-technical groups to help moderate that, help translate blog and posts, but also how to help create like Telegram groups for different regions. So you'll see there's like a SubQuery Russia Telegram group, and that's our community running that. So there's lots of small things that the community can do that aren't technical related. It's kind of hard though. Our focus is on technical stuff at the moment, so that's where our focus is. But there's plenty of different ways to be a part of things. So translations, running communities, getting the word out. If we want to do like another interview like this with if you're an influencer for big following on your YouTube, let's do things like this. So different ways we can do things.
Okay, awesome. I see that you are running Spartan program. Is it still available? People can join in, or is it closed already?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Spartan program is still running, and we'll continue to run, and we'll keep the ambassador and the Spartan program running. I think for a long time, even after TG, even after mainnet, we plan to keep them going because they do very well to make sure the best of our community are rewarded. So you see, the senior ambassadors represent some of the most active members of our community, and same with the ambassadors, the all stars, and even Spartans. So we'll still be adding new members in there. Every month we'll be adding new Spartans. But we'll also be promoting the best Spartans to become ambassadors every month. I think this month we just promoted like 10 or so new ambassadors. So new ones coming in every week.
Okay, great. Because I see some people asking in the chat about they want to be ambassadors. So I will put the link to your Spartan program so people can join and can read about it. Okay, so maybe now let's talk a little bit about your token distribution, because I see that you will have like public sale round 1, round 2. Can you tell us a little bit more about it if possible? Maybe some approximate dates, or how do you plan to do that? Maybe the platform you plan to collaborate with.
Yeah, so
yeah,
as I said, we're waiting for the test network to go well. And then once we find that things are doing really well, there's no major issues, the communities involved will kick off the token sale. Now, we've already lined up a partner, and I can't announce that here, but it will be a well-run platform that many other token sales, especially in Polkadot, have run on. So if you've been part of many token sales in Polkadot, so it's all set up, all ready to go. We released tokenomics. Now I just dropped the article in the chat, and that has the token distribution and also the vesting schedules. And we made sure the vesting schedule for the team is very long. We're very committed to this project. It's like 6 years, or so they're locked for 24 months and then vest over the following 24 months. So, sorry, 4 years. The foundation vests gradually over 5 years. So very long, and we're very committed. That's really important. Yeah, is there any other like specific things about that? I think for me, the most important thing is that the core team are going to be invested over the long term. And I think we've proven that with our token allocation and vesting schedules.
Yeah, I see, and a huge chunk for the community. This is also great. So
And that
development,
that's
yeah.
one thing about our public sale is we want to make sure that we want to keep like the caps low in the early stages so that everyone has a chance to get involved. Everyone has a chance to buy tokens, because it's really a mission for us to spread it as wide as possible. Ideally, we don't even get to like a phase where we have an unrestricted sale for community members. Hopefully everyone gets a chance to buy some early on, and we run out that way.
Just wanted
So
to say,
and yeah, just let me ask quickly. So
Sure.
based on your tokenomics, I think you're not gonna run like a crowd loan. So you're gonna be simply like self-funded Parachain, right? So you don't have plans to distribute tokens via crowd loan. Simply just public sales and other things, and you will be self-funded.
Correct.
Okay.
And that foundation's got a big area allocation, and that foundation could use some of that allocation for a crowd loan later on.
Okay, yeah, great.
Just wanted to say about the community, guys. When I was searching videos about the SubQuery, you're doing so good. It was so complicated to find the official channel of SubQuery due to a lot of videos about SubQuery from the community. But he's really, guys, doing great.
Yeah, I remember when I set up the Twitter account like a year and a half ago. And I remember when we crossed 1,000 subscribers, it was crazy. I was like, oh my God, we finally made it. And like now I can't even go on the notifications. There's just so many stuff coming through every day.
Yeah,
No, it's
So,
impossible to keep up.
it's a lot of videos, and SubQuery described on many different languages, and select on your taste.
Will I check some questions in the questions and answer?
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
I have one question. How people ask that? Yeah, he asked. There is a task for April was to create a game. Should this game be for Android or iOS? And the person didn't ask why it's so complicated, or really just what the platform he should choose.
I think it's up to the guy. Like we keep all these open as possible. So here's just ideas that you can do. You can create a game. You can make it an iOS or Android. You can make it a web app. So like an online game where it's linked to a blockchain. Maybe it's linked to Moonbeam or to Asta. And I'm looking forward to maybe seeing someone create this and apply for grants from the SubQuery grant program for it once you have the proof of concept running.
Yeah.
So it's really all about that, right? That's kind of like the story behind it, why we did that task. Because there's some very technical people out there that have the skills to do this. We want to see what people can do.
So there's another question. So the guy is saying, hello, those who received an invitation letter to season 2 for indexers, when will they receive further information and instructions and documentations and tasks?
Yeah, so we're a bit busy right now with season 1. We got your email back. In fact, I got a large list of emails back. I need to at some point this weekend or next week send another follow-up email, but got your details. All good. Sit back, relax. We'll let you know very soon. with the next steps.
Okay, so next question: what projects did you work before SubQuery? I guess you already answered, so it's on finality, and I've attached a Medium article about it so people can read. And the next question: name the unique advantages of your project in front of the market.
Yeah, so we always get asked, right? There's another indexer provider out there that does quite similar to what we do, and they do a really good job. They're focused on Ethereum though. They've talked about multi-chain, but they haven't really done much multi-chain.
You're
We are
talking
trying
about
to
the graph, right?
the graph, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We're trying to do differently. We're focused on non-EVM chains, so Polkadot. We just announced support for Avalanche, and we'll be announcing support for another chain very soon, and more as over time. So there's that piece there. In terms of the SubQuery network versus the graph network, it's quite different in terms of the economic model. So, for example, the question around how do you forecast demand for a new SubQuery project, which we talked about before, in SubQuery, a consumer can put out a contract to the world saying, I promise to buy this many requests. I promise that I'll buy this many requests. There'll be this much traffic. There'll be this much demand. I promise. In the graph, they don't have that. They have this kind of role of a curator. And the curator is instead going, I like this project. I'm going to pick this one as a winner and gamble that it will be a winner. And it's a bit different, but we think it's a little bit more indirect. It doesn't really work as well. The graph also has really high indexer requirements. So if you want to become an index on the graph, I think you have to stake 100,000 graph tokens, which is many thousands of dollars worth of tokens to become an indexer. So it's a very small group of indexes, and it's completely different to our approach. We want to make it open as possible. There's a few other small differences, but those are the main ones. We want to become the indexer of the people, versus the graph being the indexer of those who can afford, $80,000 worth of graph token
For the whales.
for the whales.
Yeah, 80,000 now. Maybe in a few years it's gonna be like 800,000. So yeah. But do you plan to simply to collaborate with other EVM chains instead
Yeah,
of just
eventually so, right? Like
Yeah.
we support EVM stuff right now. We support like Moonbeam and Asta, all like Polkadot EVM. We support EVM on Avalanche. So it's a natural likelihood that in the future we go to other EVM chain. It's not our focus right now. Maybe it is. Like one thing we're always listening is to hearing what new chains people are interested in. We hear a lot of feedback around this. Everyone's got a favorite new layer one, but we're looking for new layer ones that are doing something really cool. They have a lot of developers there, an early stage developer community that's growing quite fast, and that don't have an indexing solution. So there's plenty of new other chains out there. I'm sure you can guess which ones.
Okay, so let's see what other questions do we have. Okay, there's another question about partnerships. So we see a strong development of your project and the team. Will there be a partnership with Binance Exchange and other exchanges possibly in the future? I know it's difficult to answer this question because only Binance can say so when he's ready. But yeah.
But we're working right now with most so we're talking to most top tier exchanges as part of our discussions around launching. So our plan when we launch the token, having support on one, if not many more, top tier exchanges at launch. Whether that's Binance, whether that's someone else, we'll find out. We're in discussions. I can't talk much more about that. But we are planning to have support on a top tier exchange.
But for sure, the token will be available, I guess, maybe even from the day one on Acala decentralized exchange.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we got Acala, right? There's an on-chain decentralized exchange. So
yeah, awesome.
From day one, you'll be able to move your ETH from Ethereum over the bridge to Acala. You'll be able to change that to SubQuery tokens and potentially move that back.
Yeah, awesome. So I don't think we have much questions left. So I don't know, maybe some final words from you, James?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. And sorry for coughing my guts out on the call. But that's life. No, it was a pleasure talking to you guys. It has some really good technical questions. I love technical questions. I never get enough technical questions. So really good. And I look forward to sharing with the community how the testnet goes from today, and giving you guys all updates. It's going to be very exciting for us, and I hope you share in our excitement, because it's been like a year and a half for us working on this, and finally we get to start. So this is when the real growth of SubQuery begins. Before, we were a centralized service. We had many customers, but centralized. Now that vision of being a decentralized data service, and the best decentralized data service, that vision begins today. So really exciting.
This is really exciting year for the SubQuery, I see. And yeah, we're already like 1.5 hour having you, James. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was our pleasure having you, James.
Yeah, it's my pleasure being here. Thanks, guys.
Cool stuff.
And hopefully
Keep
we come back
going.
again in the future.
Yeah, for
Sure.
sure, definitely.
We are participating in everything, in what's happening with SubQuery. So
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
bye, community.
Yeah, bye, guys.